Hello and welcome to the Goon Talk, back again with you guys for another show for what feels like has been a ridiculously long amount of time since I've done a raw reaction show. Of course, this is usually the show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news and matches. Now, matches haven't been happening, and so on the channel you've had to suffer, you poor things, through plenty of tactical breakdown shows, which I hope you've been enjoying. If you have, please make sure you drop a like on those videos and this one. Because this is a weird one. This is a really odd one because Arsenal signed someone. Arsenal signed a very young player called George Lewis from Norway. And in these types of videos, usually what people do is they'll click on YouTube, they'll type in George Lewis and look for some videos and stuff. And that's completely fair enough. But what we're going to do on here today is I'm going to give you some insight that I've got from a Norwegian football manager researcher. So the guys that go on to the website of the game, do all the research on the players, provide the statistics and then the insight and all the info that you need regarding these players. So I've gone online, found Lars Bjørknes. I'm really hoping I pronounced your name right, Lars. I'm so sorry if I haven't. And Lars had a bit of a chat via email and has given me the breakdown of what George Lewis is like and what he's about. Now, of course, George is a very young player. He's been playing in a very, very low tier of Norwegian football, which makes accessing this type of information and accessing what this player might be like very difficult. But thankfully, Lars has given us a bit of an insight into George, and we're going to talk through that now. Lars unfortunately isn't available for a video, so he sent me through a text conversation that we've had, and I'm going to show that to you now and read through it with you. So let's talk about George Lewis. Well, Lars says that he's played most football most of it in Tromsdalen's reserve team in the Norwegian fifth tier. Great start for what we're talking about an Arsenal player of the future. He made 3 appearances for the first team in 2018 in the second tier, but in all of them, he was subbed on in the 90th minute. This could be due to the fact that the Premier and First Division clubs are obliged to give professional contracts to youth players who play more than 3 league games during a season. He was loaned to third tier Fram Larvik last autumn, where he amassed 2 appearances, interestingly being subbed on in the 87th and 90th minute there as well. I went in the archives now to watch the end of those matches, and it's hard to get any clear picture of him from 10 minutes of football. From what I can see, he's playing as a left forward / winger. He looks pacey, athletic, but doesn't really see much of the ball nor venture into any useful positions. We're going to talk through all this in just a second. I've heard him touted as a real prospect for the last few years, but in this line of work, that's not really unusual. Most of the time, the hypes aren't real. His parent team was abysmal in the Norwegian First Division last year, finishing bottom by a margin of 9 points. And still they didn't give young George a single minute of first team football, loaning him out to Fram Larvik in September, as previously mentioned. Norway play calendar year seasons from March to December. There could have been fitness issues, of course, but I see no reason for Arsenal to pursue this transfer if it isn't somehow connected to the Visit Rwanda thing. He was born in Kigali, as you probably know. My prediction, if Arsenal sign him, is that he'll spend a year or 2 in the reserves and then be released. In other words, no reason to get excited. So there you go. And then with that, everyone clicks off the video. Before you do, let's have a little bit of a discussion and chat about what this means, because it's interesting in a couple of senses, because of course Arsenal are sponsored by this Visit Rwanda type of thing. And signing someone from there obviously creates that link. You've had, like, if you remember back to Park Chu-young, that player that signed South Korean from Monaco, and all of a sudden there was all of this link between a lot of South Korean buzz signing a player for Arsenal, and that creates obviously revenue. I'm not expecting that to happen here. Arsenal's connection with Rwanda is already quite well established. So I'm not sure how much credence I give to that link. If Arsenal see this young kid as someone who's exciting, Lars talks about him being a left winger / forward player. Now, for me, Arsenal are pretty well stocked in that left sort of wing role in terms of a young player. We've got Martinelli, who can play on the left. We've got Bukayo Saka, who's doing fantastically well at left back, but is more naturally a left winger. And of course, we've got Reece Nelson that can play on either flank as well. So to be signing young George Lewis, it puts him in a situation where he's going to be incredibly pressed for competition to try and get to the Arsenal side. I agree with Lars that unless something miraculous happens and George suddenly goes on this blast of progression and potential outcome, I don't really see this going anywhere exciting. But Arsenal signed someone, and we will go do a video on it. So there you go. Before I go into some of your comments, because I want to get what some of you guys are thinking about this signature, I must let you know that I wasn't even planning on doing this video today. There's actually a tactical breakdown video coming about Coutinho a little bit later on. So please make sure you got those notifications turned on so you can get that. But let's throw into the the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Rodney says, good to see Arsenal breaking the bank. In all seriousness, though, the academy products have been very positive lately, and I hope this guy blossoms under our new coaching. That is a very positive way to look at it, Rodney. I think that, yes, the sarcasm is brilliant, and I think that when you look at who Arsenal are targeting, this isn't someone that Arsenal are looking to bring into the first team immediately, maybe not even in the near future. Someone that maybe they're looking to develop, could sell on for a higher fee, and who knows, maybe he'll develop into something special and actually get a chance in the cup competitions or the Europa League if we qualify for it next season. Who knows? I don't see this as anything really other than as a discussion point at this moment. There's an interesting link, as Lars mentioned, between the Rwanda side of things and Arsenal. If Arsenal were going to go down this route of buying players commercially, I don't look at that as a particularly good thing, personally. So that's that. Also, I know that this video is mainly about George Lewis, but I also wanted to bring up a couple of other things that have happened in the Arsenal world. One of them is Sir Chips Keswick, retiring as Arsenal chairman, and that role is no longer going to be filled. Now, when I was on the football terrace with some of the Arsenal boys yesterday, they asked me on it, and my feeling is that whilst I know that Sir Chips Keswick was not looked upon as someone who was well liked, in fact, there's a lot of sarcastic quotes on Twitter at the moment from old AGMs, and I get that 100%. But for me, there's just something a little bit sad, I think, about Arsenal losing a chairman. Trust me, I am not sad in any way that Sir Chips Keswick has gone. I don't think he provided anything for the club in terms of it progressing, moving forward. Some of the quotes, the things he said are absolutely abhorrent. But for me, I just think that there's a little bit of romanticism that's been lost, that Arsenal no longer have a chairman. Maybe that's just a softie in me. It probably is. But there's just something, I think, about Arsenal not having a chairman anymore after so many years of them doing so. And it's now completely in the hands of Raul Sanllehi and Vinay Ventukasham and, of course, Stan Kroenke and Josh Kroenke to really, and Edu, obviously, as well, to really sort of turn this club back into what it was. And if you think Arsenal's glory years have come under when they've had a chairman, whether that makes any sense or if that has any impact on it or not, it probably doesn't. But it's just part of me that feels that losing a chairman is a little bit sad sometimes. And whilst, trust me, I'm glad he's gone, the idea of Arsenal not having a chairman is weird and strange, and it makes Arsenal look more of a company than it does a football club, and that's even more sad for me. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. There's a couple of other bits of news, like David Luiz's contract as well. That's a really strange one. I think that personally, I don't see Arsenal signing a centre back this summer. I think Arsenal are going to invest in other areas. If we do sign a centre back, I can't see it being a big signing. Of course, we've got Pablo Mari probably going to be signed on a permanent deal. We've got William Saliba coming back in as well too. So you've got those two players that are technically kind of new in a sense. And so I think Arsenal may use that to then invest, with the current financial climate as well being a big factor, to invest in other areas of the pitch, like in midfield, for instance, or at fullback on the right-hand side, as we're seeing with Bellerin being linked out. But obviously, I think we need backup for him too. So who knows? It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with those guys. Let's see what some of your comments are. Brandon says, is he any good? I'm assuming that's a question in relation to George Lewis. Brandon, you joined us a little bit late. If you just scroll back on the video to the start, you'll be able to read through some of our football manager, Norwegian researcher Lars Bjørknes, his thoughts on the matter. So please make sure you go back and watch that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know some of you have joined in late, and if you have, please just scroll back and watch the video from the start. It's going to upload straight away. And if not, just stick around a little bit longer, because I know you've missed our brand new intro. So I'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.